In 1934, a photograph was taken here which epitomised the extraordinary influence of one of the most provocative and uncompromising thinkers of the 19th century. It's an image of Adolf Hitler standing next to the bust of Nietzsche here in Weimar, where the philosopher lived. With chilling eloquence, this tells us what many Nazis believed, that Nietzsche was the brilliant mind, the inspiration behind the terrifying ideologies of the Third Reich. Yet if Nietzsche had been alive to see it, he would have been appalled. His philosophies were being distorted by a regime that stood for so much that he'd have loathed. Nietzsche was one of the most dangerous minds of the 19th century.
Nietzsche thinks we have blood on our hands because we haven't just killed God, we've killed that which gave our lives meaning.
Nietzsche lived in a century in which Europe was witnessing unprecedented change, where the authority of Christianity was being challenged. Radical breakthroughs in science were redefining belief. And thinkers like Freud, Marx, and Nietzsche were suddenly free to unleash ideas that in previous centuries would have seen them burned to the stake. Yet they heralded nothing less than the modern world. In 1882, one of the greatest minds of the 19th century predicted a crisis. One that he believed would be without equal on Earth, and which would be triggered by nothing less than the murder of God. God is dead, and God remains dead because we have killed him. What was holiest and most powerful of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our eyes. Who will wipe the blood from our hands? These are the visceral, challenging words of Friedrich Nietzsche. The crisis that he proclaimed was a wave of disbelief in Christianity that he predicted would crash through Europe. And the raw, brutal language that he chose to describe this death of God is a measure of just how terrifying he thought the consequence would be.